Stuart Stevens wrote a whole book about his former party's slide into Trumpism titled "It Was All a Lie: How the Republican Party Became Donald Trump." And Stuart Stevens joins me now. The stakes here, Stuart, really do seem colossal to me. I think the battle has already been fought and lost by one side. What do you think?
Look, I don't think this is a tipping point for the Republican Party. I think the Republican Party has tipped. I think it's a tipping point for America. The greatest danger is not to realize the greatest danger. And what we have here is a moment that appears normal in many ways. We have a normal president who's going about the business of running a normal, very functional government. But this is an extraordinary moment. And we shouldn't look to the past to say, okay, is this like 1964? Is this like 68? Is it like 52? Because this really has never happened in America, at least not since 1860. We should look abroad, like Hungary. This is a Viktor Orban moment. And what the Republican Party has become, and it's painful for me to admit this, because I spent decades working in it, it has become a major anti-democratic force, little d democratic force in America. It is a dangerous organization that wants to end the American experiment. And the sooner we get about realizing that and understanding it and quit trying to pretend that it's not, the safer we'll be and the more we'll be equipped to deal with it. Because our society is not really ready to deal with what we're forced to deal with now, not by our choosing.
I agree. I mean, it's very well said. And one thing that I think bears some investigation here, I'd like to get your thoughts, is there's always a theory about Donald Trump that his power fundamentally derived from media attention, that he had sort of hacked the media economy. He was a creature of the media. And that's how he got his power. And there's a lot to that, and I think that's right. But what we're seeing here is that that's not the whole story. Because, Facebook today, they're going to keep him off the platform. No one reads his tweets. He gives interviews and no one cares. He doesn't drive the news cycle. The power is still there for some other elemental reason. There's something else going on that is making grown individuals act in a way that would be embarrassing in normal circumstances, like Kevin McCarthy.
Well, I mean, we assume that Kevin McCarthy has shame. I think that's giving him a benefit of the doubt. I think Kevin McCarthy is quite happy. I don't think he feels debased. I think he feels powerful. These are people that are different than us. They're people who have decided that they are defined by power to no purpose. And it's a very dangerous reality. Look, we've seen this before in America. In the 30s, there was a fascist movement in America. But we didn't become fascist. Why? Probably because Roosevelt was president, not Henry Ford or Lindbergh. Yeah. So we elected someone who does not believe in the American norms, who has strong autocratic tendencies. And what we've discovered is sort of what we used to study in civics, and we still did, that leadership matters. And when you say that it's okay to embrace the worst part of yourself, the self that doesn't want to admit that the other side won, you're on the road to autocracy. Democracy doesn't work when you're for democracy when you win and you're not for it when you lose. That's a different system of government, and that's the threat out there.
I'm glad you raised that, because something that I think has gone somewhat unremarked on, and the landing point of that monologue into you, is that something really dangerous, aside from the violent insurrection happened on January 6th, was introducing the notion of essentially a congressional veto on the people's vote for president. Right? Like this idea that you got this big thing on January 6th, which was seen as pro forma. They're just there to move the paper around and make it official. The idea that, well, maybe you lose the presidential election. People spend $1 billion. You go around, you campaign, you lose. But if you hold both houses and you can whip the votes, who knows? And I mean, that is a genuine fear of mine that now looms. And to me, the Liz Cheney thing is a kind of microcosm of that bigger fight.
Oh, look, you're absolutely right. We shouldn't kid ourselves. This is the plan. The plan is to be able to take the House in 2022, go about impeaching at least Harris, probably Biden. They take the Senate, they'll try to remove them. And to look, when you have something that happened as it did on January 6th and it goes unpunished, it becomes a practice.
Yeah.
And what happened when those Republican senators voted not to hold Trump responsible is, I think, will be recorded as the equivalent of the Munich Accord of our time. It is when you attempt to appease something that you know is evil, to gain power and to gain this. Now, Chamberlain was certainly a much more noble figure than anyone involved in this in the Senate. At least he was anti-war in a very legitimate way, with dreadful consequences. But look, we should not grant them the privilege of assuming they will revert to normalcy. This is normal to them. This is what they want. They do not want to believe in a system in which they can lose. And look, when you read books like How Democracies Die by the two Harvard professors, or Twilight of Democracy by Anne Applebaum, it makes it clear that most modern democracies die not because of tanks and coups. It's not like Allende in Chile. It's more like Orban, or the Philippines had a beautiful constitution modeled after the American Constitution, and Marcos trampled all over it. Yeah. It's through the ballot box and through judicial fiat that democracies die. And that really is where we're about now. And I can't tell you which side is going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to say, of course, people are going to lose. But we've kind of done that, and we've proven it wrong. So I think we have to assume that we're really in a battle for democracy.
Stuart Stevens, that is very, very well said. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.